Alrighty. It is just after 8:30. It is Sunday morning. We are live. Well, we don't seem to be live on Instagram this morning. That's a little bit bizarre, but that's not the worst thing that can happen. My name's Ron. So this is Sunday morning live with Ron. See, just like that. Sunday morning live with Ron. And it is 7/18/2021. So you're in the right place. Whoever you are. Someone's joined me on Facebook. I see that. Again, I don't know why my Instagram is not starting. Interesting. There I am. Yeah, I can check it. There I am. All right. Now, Sunday morning, live with Ron. with Ron live on Sunday morning. What do we do here? We are going to show you the 4 new pieces that will be going into my gallery tomorrow morning. And then we're going to cover the 20 composition techniques that we've been studying for the past few months. We're going to recap those, and then we're going to be done with that. And after that, the next episode will be on August 1st. And that will be, we'll start a new module. Okay. We're going to go back to the exposure triangle. And as I said, I've got an idea that I've never seen explored on explaining the exposure triangle that I think, at least in my mind, helps to clear it up. I just physically haven't figured out how I'm going to do it yet. So it'll be interesting for all of us when that finally happens. So those are the 2 things we're going to do today. Okay. We're not going to demonstrate all 20 techniques, but we do have the camera set up today. I call this Still Life with Pumpkinhead. I just couldn't make myself put on my shoes and go outside. But so I set this up in my office. That's a little. If it was bright enough, you would see the little pumpkin head thing dancing, and the thing in front of it, I don't even know the name of the mineral anymore. But I bought that when I had my cancer removed off of my arm as a healing tool, and I think it helped. So there's that. Welcome those of you on Facebook. Welcome those of you on Instagram. Welcome those of you who are watching this on a replay because you just didn't get up at 8:30 on a Sunday morning to see me, which, I'll try not to take personally. I'll try. It'll be hard. So if you join me, feel free to comment. Even if you're on a replay, I do look at all the comments and laugh quietly to myself. So, number 1 thing to do today is going to be show you the 4 new pieces that are going into the gallery tomorrow. So here they come. Here, I want to adjust something here. So I didn't like that fade. Okay. So we're going to go do that now. There. Yeah, that's a better fade. Okay. This piece here is called Dandy Daffodils. It was taken back in April at Filoli National Historic Registration Site Historical Heritage Place. Anyway, it's not on the San Francisco Peninsula. It's Filoli. It's one of those grand merchants' country estates. It's an interesting place. Didn't even make it into the house. We wandered around the gardens too long and we got tired. But they have some amazing, amazing gardens that just go on and on and on. Boy, people are just bouncing in and out of here like yo-yos today. So again, Dandy Daffodils. Here, let me get that banner out of the way so you can see the whole picture. There. Dandy Daffodils. The second one is called Boulders in Blue. This was taken down in San Jose near Almaden Lake. These are just some boulders that are all lichen covered up on a hillside. I wasn't liking what I was getting, trying to develop this in a natural way. So I kind of played with the settings and pushed it. So it's a little bit abstract. It's a little bit bizarre. It is what in photography is called painterly. It almost looks like it's a painting instead of a photograph. So that's where I ended up with that one. I'm kind of happy with where that ended up. I think it's really quite interesting. I think that would make an interesting piece to hang up in your study somewhere. Again, that's Boulders in Blue, and these will all be in the gallery tomorrow morning. The next one is called Choices. Took a walk back in February in downtown Concord, around Todos Santos Square. And this was in that general area. It's half a block off the square. Just a couple of gas valves. They weren't labeled in any way. So I guess you had to know what you were looking at in order to know which gas valve you needed to turn on or off. And that's where they are. So they're just called choices. The dynamics on this were such that it came out very interesting in black and white. So that's where I left it. The final piece that we're adding this week is called Cracking Up. This is from that same walk back in February, downtown Concord. This is on a storefront facing Todos Santos. Something happened, don't know what, and this one window was all cracked and crazed. So I took some pictures of it from a couple of different angles. The pot that you see there is a flower pot, the blue parts. That is actually the reflection of the flower pot. And you sort of see the reflection of the square off behind it, that big open area. And then all the cracks in the glass. It was very, very interesting. Boy, if my voice gets any deeper this morning, I'm going to put myself to sleep. I swear to God. I don't know why it's quite so deep today. But there it is. It's a deep voice. It's a low energy. I know I am low energy. I went to see a movie last night. I went to see Black Widow last night, which was very, very good. I enjoyed it a lot. So if you get a chance, go see that. It's just, I don't know whether it's getting out of COVID or just that there's so many movies piled up to come out that, this movie is now 3 weeks old. And I don't think there were more than 10, 15 people at the 8:30 show on a Saturday night. So that surprised me a little bit. But the movie was good. The movie is very well done. You'll enjoy it. Go see it. I recommend it. Thumbs up. So nobody's sticking around this morning. Just me Just me talking to myself in my office like I usually do at this hour of the morning. So, stop saying so, Ron. So, there. As I said, I'm low energy this morning. I apologize for that. And my voice is very deep. I apologize for that. And I'm funny looking. I can't apologize for that. I'm just funny looking. I'm funny looking all the time. That's just me. That's what I look like. Sorry. Oh, wait. I did apologize for that. Anyway, before we get into the lesson, what have we got coming up? Well, as I mentioned, in 2 weeks, it will be August 1st. And that's when the next Sunday Morning Live with Ron is, but it also is the first of the month. So rather than go on air twice, we will combine the Sunday Morning Live with Ron and the live giveaway drawing. And of course, our piece this month is Anyone for Orange. You can get there by signing up at my website. Even if you are already on the email list, and I've changed this just in the past 2 months. So even if you're already on the email list, there it is, then you need to sign up again if you want to get in this drawing. My list has gotten quite large, and I'm sick of trying to give away things to people that don't even respond. So we had very good luck with that last month. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Last month was Anyone for Orange. This month is Rockaway Rocks. Is it? I don't know. What is it? Look, Ron. I don't even know what my giveaway is. It's in a box out here. It just came in this week. Yeah, it's Anyone for Orange. There we are. So that's what it is. It's Anyone for Orange. I'm saying that weird this morning. Orange. 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 Anyone for Orange. So that's happening in 2 weeks. August 1st, we'll combine the drawing with Sunday Morning Live with Ron with a brand new set of lessons on the exposure triangle. Okay, so we'll do an overview in 2 weeks, and then we'll do the 3 parts, and then we'll do a recap. So out of one concept, I can get 5 lessons. Tricky, huh? Welcome to those of you on Facebook. Welcome to any of you who wander in on Instagram or YouTube. YouTube is out there. YouTube is out there live. But you got to search for Ron Alcott Photography because I don't have my name yet in YouTube. So be that way. What else have we got coming up? Then Sunday, August 1st, we're doing all that stuff. And then Monday, I'm packing up my van and I'm going up because Wednesday through Saturday, August 2, 3, 4 through 7, I will be at the downtown section of Hot August Nights in Reno, Nevada, selling prints in person. You can come shake my hand or just point and laugh. What a funny guy. God, man, he's so weird. So I keep scaring people off. But I'll be in Hot August Nights up in Reno. Next weekend, I've got headshot extravaganzas on the portrait side of the business coming up in Walnut Creek on Saturday and in Rohnert Park on Sunday. So if you want to learn about those, you go to ronalcottportraits.com/headshot-extravaganza. Or just look for the ad. I've been running ads for that pretty heavy, and you may have already seen it. Certainly, if you're in the Bay Area, you may have already seen it. So that's what that is. I've got a fun shoot tonight. Going to go do a maternity test shoot with a model tonight. So that should be fun if it doesn't get too hot today. And when all else fails, you can always do a pumpkin head. And let's do our lesson. I'm sorry, I really am out of it this morning. Let me grab some more coffee here. All right, lesson. We have been studying for the past 2-3 months 20 composition techniques that will improve your photos. Okay, this comes from the folks at Petapixel. Okay, written by Barry O'Connell back in 2016. Unfortunately, composition techniques are pretty universal. Most of them have been around since the days of the ancient Greeks. So here they are, the 20 composition techniques. He makes the point, these are not rules, they are techniques. You can decide which ones you use, which ones you break, when, where, and why. Okay. The first one, the big one, the one you always hear about as soon as you start learning photography is the rule of thirds. All right. So that says if you divide your frame up into thirds vertically and into thirds horizontally, you get more interesting pictures if you place things along these thirds lines. Okay, so these trees are kind of along this third line here, and the horizon is pretty much along that third line there. Okay, so you can put things right on the lines. You can also think of them as areas. Okay, we've got a fair amount of weight over here in these areas with the trees. You've got the plainness of the grass sort of balanced. We'll talk about balance in a minute. With the plainness in these quadrants. They're not quadrants. They're like nanokins or something because there's 9 of them. Okay. And then we'll talk about this guy in a minute. But the idea here is put things on the third lines or put things at these points. Okay. If you've got a single point of interest instead of like a tall tree or something, if you put something at the intersections, it's also very interesting. Okay. So here he's using it more for areas. Okay. You've got these guys across the top, they're all sky. Okay. This across the middle is full of cathedral. This across the bottom kind of focuses on the square. Okay. So here he's using the rule of thirds more in zones than putting specific objects, although he did get that one spire of the church right there on the thirds line. I know this. Well, I don't know this spot because I did not climb up the clock tower. But I know this square. This is Old Town Square in Prague. Beautiful, beautiful spot. If you ever get a chance to go to Prague, if somebody just walks up to you today while you're standing in line in the grocery store, says, "Hey, let's go to Prague," just leave your cart there and go to Prague. Okay. So, number 2, centering and composition, centering and symmetry. Okay. There's a photographer in one of my local Facebook groups that forces this a lot by actually mirroring pictures. This is not a mirrored picture, okay? But you see that by centering these arches and centering the stairs, you get symmetry. Both halves are the same. That's what symmetry means, okay? Here, we've combined techniques. The tree and its reflection are on the third line, okay? But then right down through the center, the reflection in the water gives us symmetry with the landscape above the water, the sky, okay? So none of these are intended to be used individually. You stack them all up, okay? So number 3, foreground with interest, to add interest and depth, okay? So here we've shot the foreground rocks to give some depth leading back to that fall, okay? If we just cropped out to there, okay, you wouldn't have as interesting a picture. You wouldn't get a sense of how high the falls is, you know, whether you're looking at Niagara Falls or just the little falls like this, okay? It's what, 6-8 feet. Okay? And here he's just highlighted the foreground rocks that he included, okay? They provide some foreground interest. Here, okay, he's got this cityscape at night in the background, okay, and the river and the reflections in the river, and that's all very interesting, but you don't have a sense of proportion. So what he did was he got down low and he got this boat cleat in the picture. Okay? And the boat cleat kind of anchors you where you are. You don't feel like you're falling in the river or trying to walk on water to get to the city behind there. Okay, so the foreground object gives you an anchor, a sense of perspective, and a sense of proportion. Okay. Number 4 was framing. Okay, here he's framed the tower within the arch. This happens to be Venice. Okay. Here he's used a tree for framing. You'll find that I use that a lot. I try to find natural elements when I'm taking my landscape shots to frame my subject. Here's the subject, again, on the thirds, split in half, symmetry with the reflection, right? Okay, framed, house on the thirds line, symmetry, they all stack, all right? This tree's on the other thirds line. Okay. Number 5 is leading lines. If you have lines that lead up to your subject, that pulls the viewer's eye back into the photo. And you can bring attention to the main subject of your photo by using leading lines. Remember, I told you all the way back up here, we were going to talk about one element in particular, okay? This is a leading line. It takes you right back here to the trees, okay? So you will find, once you learn what these rules of composition are, thank you, whoever liked me, once you learn what the rules of composition are, and you start looking at lots of images, you will be amazed at how often these things stack. Again, foreground elements, Okay. Third line. Okay. Centering and symmetry. And leading lines. Okay. Just leaving the edges of these buildings in provides some framing. It gives us perspective and framing. So we're only on number 5, and he stacked all 5 of them in this picture. Okay. Curved leading lines, generically referred to as S-curves, even though they may not make an entire S. But they're very calming and soothing, and not quite as harsh as the straight leading lines. So they both work. It doesn't have to be a straight line to be a leading line. Okay. Diagonals and triangles. The eye is attracted to triangles. Here we see a lot of triangles. Some of them, okay, this triangle here is caused by converging leading lines. This triangle here is caused by converging leading lines. This triangle here, same thing. This triangle here, same thing. This triangle here is actually a feature of the bridge. Okay, that's an actual architectural triangle. Same thing here. Okay. This triangle is caused by the leading lines. Okay. So converging leading lines can lead to triangles. Triangles are interesting. Okay. And sometimes there's just triangles. Okay. You will find a lot of times when you're shooting architecture and perspective that you'll be using triangles a lot. Okay. Because perspective gives you that converging leading line effect, okay, which creates a triangle. Patterns and textures is number 7. Here are the patterns in the foreground. Emphasize the different pattern of the building in the background. All right. Here, the patterns of the rocks sort of help to lead you back to the man, who is also framed. Okay. Rule of odds. This one's a little bit, takes a minute to explain. There's something about the human brain that wants to categorize and choose things. Okay? And if you have an even number of things, it is more difficult for our brains to choose one. If you have an odd number, your eye will pick one. So we have 3 arches, 1, 2, 3. I don't think those numbers are actually on those lights. I'm really sure these people don't actually have numbers on their backs. We have 3 arches, symmetrical. We have 3 people, asymmetrical. Okay, but it makes for an interesting picture having the odd number because your eye will pick one and settle there. And it may move and pick a different one and settle there. But it can settle on one for a moment. What happens if you don't have an odd number is your eye doesn't really pick one. Your brain doesn't pick one. Okay? So here, the author has deliberately broken the rule of odds, okay, by only having 2 people. And you get, your brain shifts back and forth between the 2 people, and you get the sense of conversation that these are 2 people talking back and forth because your attention shifts back and forth between the 2 gondoliers. Chilly day, evidently. Okay. Where are we up to? Number 9, fill the frame. Okay. This is something that a lot of makes a lot of difference between amateur photographers and advanced photographers. Is advanced photographers know to fill the frame. Decide what you're taking a picture of and let that be big enough to fill the frame. Okay? You see a lot of vacation snapshots where there's just this little tiny person in this great vast mess of Yosemite. It's like, what am I supposed to look at? I can't see the person. And Yosemite's just overwhelming them. So here, we've filled the frame with Notre Dame. We've filled the frame with the lion. Okay. He doesn't look very happy. Okay. The next rule is the opposite of that, called leaving negative space. Okay. But it isn't really contradicting that. We haven't completely filled the frame. We have what's called negative space, space where there is no subject. Okay, over here on the left-hand side of this picture. Okay, but even so, this is Shiva. Okay, Shiva fills the part of the frame that they are in. Okay. We didn't have Shiva down in the little corner down here with lots of sky all the way around everything. Okay. Shiva fills the part of the frame that they're in. They are substantial. Okay. But we're leaving this negative space. Okay. And this is one of the tenets of what is called minimalism. Okay. Where you'll have a simple subject. This is not quite minimalist in my eyes because the statue is more complex than you would normally see in minimalism. But you would have one simple subject surrounded by negative space. Okay. Now, if there was like an edge of a building over here or something, it would be a different picture. Okay, and this wouldn't be negative space, it just would be extra space. Okay. So the next one is, in fact, minimalism. Okay. Here we have a very simple subject, these water drops on this one blade of grass, surrounded by nothing. They've actually used depth of field to separate those objects out from the rest of the frame to make a minimalist picture. It's very simple. Okay. This is a very classic minimalist picture where you've got a solo, simple subject. Say that 10 times fast. And beautiful leading line. It takes you right to it. And then lots of uninteresting background that just provides a backdrop for it. Okay. There's just nothing going on in that picture except this tree. That's minimalist. Okay. Number 12. We're up to number 12. Isolate. Okay. Isolate oftentimes has to do with how you crop, both in frame while you're taking the picture and in post-processing. It also has to do with how you choose to focus and compose your picture. Here, they've isolated the kitty cat from the background by choosing a shallower depth of field where the kitty cat is very sharp and the background disappears effectively because it's so blurry. Okay, that's achieved by setting a wide open aperture. Okay. So here they've isolated using aperture. Changing your point of view. Get high, get low, get sideways. One of the things that people like to do is called Dutch angle. You've seen it, where the horizon line of whatever it is, whether it's a street or in this case actual horizon, is tilted, okay, to varying degrees. Okay, that's called a Dutch angle. There was in early photography, there was a whole school of Dutch photographers that used that technique a lot. Okay, that's another way of changing your point of view. I do have a personal request. If you have a picture of water, do not put a Dutch angle on a picture of water, because it looks like the water should all pour off of one side of the picture or another. So if you got a picture of water, you need to get your horizon line straight. Okay. So here, this is a very different perspective of the Eiffel Tower than you ever see. Okay. Most people are in one of these parks shooting up at it. Okay. Here, he went to a different tower, okay, and shot across over top of the city to get a different picture of the Eiffel Tower than the normal picture that everybody gets. Okay. Here, he got down low to get down into the stream and get you down and get you involved with the water, rather than standing up where mostly what you would see would be the weeds. And then here he is, actually down in the stream, as you can see. Okay. To get that low perspective shot up the creek, so to speak. Number 14, color. I'll leave this to you. I am mostly colorblind. Okay. This, by the way, is the wrong color wheel. This is a pigment color wheel. Okay. On the light color wheel, red and green are opposite each other. But colors opposite each other on the color wheel are considered complementary. Okay. They provide a good deal of pleasing contrast. Okay. Whereas you would have a lot of conflict if you picked something that was just a little off. Okay. So if you took this red and that rose, like, no, those would not go well with each other. All right. Maybe that's red. Could be. This could be orange. And that's red. Yeah, could be. Red, green. So anyway, here, the warm tones of the Parliament building, right? Customs House. Okay. So the warm tones, the yellow, in complement to all of the blue of the sky and the water. Okay. Next one, the oranges red with the against the deep blue, and also against the somewhat greenish tint to this foreground, okay? At least to my eye. The rule of space. This is the one I couldn't think of. I was trying to explain it to someone, and I couldn't think of the name. But the rule of space says that if something has a direction, okay, like the boat has a front end and a back end, Okay. If it has a direction, then it needs to be moving towards open space. Okay. Here, the boat is moving towards the open space of the picture. Okay. So it brings you along the customs house and back to this bridge. Okay. That's what your brain does. Your brain fills in the motion, even though it's a still picture. Okay. So if this was right up against the left-hand edge, okay, if the picture was cropped right here, it would look very bizarre, okay, because it would look like the boat was about to drive off the picture. And our eye would drive off the picture, and we would completely miss everything over here. Okay. Same thing just with the way people face. Okay. Here, most of the people are facing into the open space. Okay. So the singer, the cool guy, the dancer are all facing into the open side of the picture. The left to right rule. Okay. Which says, since we live in a society that reads from left to right, if there is actual motion in the picture, such as the implied motion by the blur of the boy and the dog, okay, or I guess it's a woman and a dog, okay, if there is implied motion, then the motion needs to be going from left to right. Okay. And she has, because it's following the rule of space, okay, that motion from left to right, the open space is on the right side. Okay. And he goes on to complain that he got marked down in a jury once, okay, for breaking this rule. Because he had somebody moving from right to left. And he tried to make the argument that because he was in Tunisia at the time, that people in Tunisia read from right to left. So, but he still got marked down. 17 is balance. I don't know how to teach balance. Our brains can only absorb so much with logical explanation. Okay. This is the point where my logical explanation breaks down and where I become one of those people who says, I don't know how to explain it, but I know it when I see it. Okay. Here is really big object that we know is the really big object in the background, the Eiffel Tower, okay, is balanced by this smaller object, but in perspective larger in the foreground. Okay. One object, two objects. Balance is maintained. Okay. Similar concept. This big mass of building and tower back here is kind of balanced with another vertical element here. Okay. Off to the right-hand side of the picture, just so that weight, image weight, doesn't make it feel like the picture should be sinking to the left. Okay. And here he says in the article, it's a question of judgment and experimentation. Okay. So when you look at your photos, just ask yourself, is this balanced? Is there something else I need to include or exclude to maintain balance? Number 18 is juxtaposition. We're coming down to the end. Okay. Juxtaposition is where, hopefully naturally, you have two contrasting elements, okay, one on top of the other. Here are these newsstands, okay, rather cluttered, okay, and busy against the classic architecture of Notre Dame Cathedral. Okay? But it's juxtaposed right in front of it. Okay, so it's one on top of the other. It is popular these days to create juxtaposition using Photoshop, which is art. In my book, it's not going to be photography because it's now a digital composition. Okay, if you take pieces of two photos and put them together, that's digital composition. That's not photography. Again, that's my personal opinion. Okay. Here, this car is juxtaposed in front of the cafe. All right. The golden triangles. Okay. Golden triangles are related to the next one that we see. Okay. There is a concept in art, in design, of the golden ratio. Okay. And there's a formula for it. Okay. That says that the relationship, I actually give it to you down here. The relationship of A plus B divided by A is equal to A over B. Okay. A plus B divided by A is A over B. If you measured these out, you would find that formula holds true. So these are called golden triangles because they apply that golden ratio. Okay? And they stack. Okay, so here's a golden triangle made within this bigger golden triangle. So there's two big golden triangles, top left, bottom right, and then they're divided further. Okay, some cameras actually can set the overlay to this diagram, okay? And you can flip it. All right. But again, it goes with the idea of triangles. Okay? But some of these things, you know, they feel kind of arbitrary to me. Okay? Why are these things in this triangle and not these things in that triangle? And how does that person standing there make a triangle? There's nothing anywhere near that point. There's nothing. I mean, this gets. All right. Eiffel Tower's got nothing to do with any of these triangles. Again, it feels sometimes arbitrary, like someone takes a picture that they like and they will overlay this diagram on it and say, see, golden triangles. Worse than golden triangles is the golden ratio, which you will often see expressed as the Fibonacci spiral. Okay. Classic Fibonacci spiral is a nautilus shell. Okay. These follow that same, if you made diagonal lines instead of curves, okay, you would find that you had golden triangles. Okay, if you took this, divided it there, or in this case, because they're running the curve this way, okay, divided it there, you would have golden triangles. It's the same formula. Same formula. Here they just nest them as boxes inside each other to create this spiral effect. Okay? And yeah, look, the big wide part of the spiral has the big wide part of the stairs. The little detail part has this detailed lady. There's something right there in her hands. But it's also balanced. The stairway there is balanced by the ladies here. It's often, again, somebody finds, I don't think people consciously in photography, where you're in the moment, design to the Fibonacci spiral. I think oftentimes you will go back afterwards and discover that you have, in fact, created something that meets that plan. Okay. In design, it's very separate because you have control of the elements. Okay. Like my little still life over here. Okay. This does not follow the Fibonacci spiral. Could not draw that in here any way that makes sense. But I have control over these elements. So I could design something that had something small here, right? And then something moderate. Oops, didn't mean to move that. Something moderate over this way, over to the right, okay? And then have Mr. Pumpkin all the way over on the left. Okay? So you can control it in your design, but I think in composition, it's something you just get a feel for and you will find after the fact. Even the expert who wrote this article talks about the fact that he doesn't compose for Fibonacci spiral, but he does oftentimes see it in his work after the fact. This to me is just another one where there is just arbitrarily, oh, wait, I have to go back. Okay. I don't get it. Okay. Particularly the spiral part. All right. It's like, if you treat it as rectangles, yeah, there's an interesting part in this rectangle. There's an interesting part in this square part of that rectangle. Okay. This square has interest. Okay. This square has interest. Okay. But it's also balance. It's, I don't know. All right. So even the author could not find one that used all 20 techniques. But there they are. 20 techniques to know so that you can use them if you're looking through your lens finder and you're saying, God, that's not really as interesting as what I see when I just look at it. Okay. Then you have these techniques to say, is there something I can do to put in more foreground? Will that add additional interest? If I get low and shoot up at things, will that give me a different perspective? If I can I find a leading line that will make my attention? Hey, Darcy, move more back into the picture. Okay, so once you know these techniques and have them at your disposal, you can use them when you're out taking pictures to improve the composition of your pictures. And that's sort of my theme for this year, is for my fine art photography, is I am looking at being able to stack more techniques into each picture. So go wild, stack them all up. So that's everything that I had to show you today. We've been almost an hour. We had our new pictures going up in the gallery. We have we have this one, which is Daffodil Dandy, or Dandy Daffodil, Dandy Daffies. There we are. This one, which is Boulders in Blue. The next one is Choices. And then the final one, Cracking Up. Okay, so those will be up on the website tomorrow morning. Okay. What website, you say? Why, there it is right there. Ron Olcott Photography. All over the place. All right. Here's the reference if you wanted to learn that composition technique article. I will try to remember to put a link to it in Facebook and YouTube so that you can use that article yourself. It's a good article. It's good to know 20 different thoughts that you can just go down a list and think about when you're taking a picture. That's the joy of landscape and still life, as opposed to, say, sports and street, is you can think about something because your subject isn't going to change that much if you stop for a couple of minutes and think about it. Street photography and action photography, animals, sports. Sometimes you just have to take the shot. Okay? Don't get all nuts about, oh, he's not on the third line. Could you move this way a little bit, Mr. Deer? No, get the shot. Okay? So that's the first thing. Okay? Get the shot. So that's rule 0.9. Get the shot. Okay? Rule 0 is always decide what you're taking a picture of. What is the subject of this picture? Because if you don't have a subject when you take the picture, you won't have a subject when you get the picture back out the other end. Don't ask me how I know this. That's what's happening 2 weeks from now, August 1st. We're going to combine our Sunday morning live with Ron with the live drawing for Anyone for Orange. And then the following week, I will be in Reno at Hot August Nights. I'll be in the downtown section. I don't know yet what my booth number is, but I'll post that online when I get it. And next weekend, if you are in the Bay Area, Saturday, I'm doing Headshot Extravaganza at the Holiday Inn Express in Walnut Creek on Main Street. And Sunday, I'm doing Headshot Extravaganza at the Hampton Inn and Suites in Rohnert Park. It's my North Bay visit for the month. I'm setting up my August dates, so keep your eyes peeled for those. If you're in need of some portraits, give me a call. I am in the portrait business. If you just want to talk to me and say, Ron, you're weird, don't call. You can just type that in a message somewhere. No need to call and tell me I'm weird. I know I'm weird. It's my job to be weird. See? I know I'm weird. In the meantime, you be good to yourself. Be kind to other people and become the person that you would like to meet. Peace out.